So why is it so hard to say goodbye to porn, despite all the painful things that it brings into our life? Today we discuss that topic on Finding Traction. Welcome aboard.
Guys ready?
When it comes to porn, are you stuck, spinning out, or slipping backwards in your life? If so, then welcome to the Finding Traction podcast, a show dedicated to those who are looking to gain recovery momentum away from porn and toward the life and relationships they have always hoped for. Now, here's your host, Vern Tomke.
Well, before we get started, I wanted to invite you to one of the two open groups I have right now. First of all, I have just a regular Saturday morning group from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's on Zoom, so you can join me on that. Let me know if you're interested. I also have a pastors group that meets Thursday mornings, and we have some room in that as well. So if you're interested in either one of those two groups, email me at bandofbrothers.care@gmail.com if you want to find out more. I've had people say to me, so like, can I come to those groups, like your Saturday group, if I'm not necessarily from a faith background or wouldn't call myself a practicing Christian? The answer is absolutely yes. We've got people from all different walks. And so, the bottom line is we just have a commonality in our struggles and can really help support each other. The pastors group on Thursday morning, it would help to have a little bit of faith background on that one, but that's a different story. So either one of those, again, bandofbrothers.care@gmail.com if you want to find out more. So let's get back to our question. Why is it so hard to say goodbye to porn? You know, I had this guy that years ago, for like a dozen years, I led a Saturday morning group that we met in person, and we, around the whole area of porn recovery. And I had this guy, shout out to you, Richard, and he used to have this great word picture that he would use to talk about porn. And he would say, porn is kind of like this big fuzzy bear that looks so cute and cuddly, and it kind of comes up to me and it invites me and says, come into my embrace. And, I come in, I approach the bear, I come into its embrace, and I get a few positive strokes, and then the bear turns on me and it bites me and claws me and beats me up and leaves me beaten and bruised and bloody. And I crawl away from this bear, and the bear laughs at me. And, a few days later, the bear approaches me and say, hey, come here for a hug. And I'm going, no, I don't want to come here for a hug. You're going to beat me up. And the bear goes, no, I won't beat you up. I just want a hug. And so, I tentatively move towards the bear, and sure, it gives me a hug at first. And then again, it claws me, bites me, beats me up, and I crawl away from it, bloody and bruised and beaten. And this just goes on over and over and over again. The bear wooing me getting beaten up, and yet never quite learning my lesson. And I guess in this example, it would be, why is it so hard to say goodbye to the big, bad bear? And in our groups, we work through a course called Finding Traction. I've spoken about it. We've done some life hacks on it. And I want to pick one of our lessons. I'm going to call this also life hack number 8 today, because this just takes one of our lessons that we've called gains and losses. And it really explores what that bear picture was, this idea around the ambivalence or the double-mindedness that we experience around porn. And so that lesson is called gains and losses. And again, it's really about this whole area. Why is it so hard to say goodbye when there's all of these losses or negative things? And here's the reason. In order to get clear of porn, we need to have our eyes wide open as to the benefits that porn has been bringing to us. Now you might go, well, hold on here. I don't know what you're talking about. There is no benefits. And just hold on. I hear what you're saying, because the only thing that first comes to our mind, especially if you want to get clear and free of it, or you want to look at joining a group or, start recovery, is all you're thinking about right now is the cost, the painful costs that you're experiencing right now because of your compulsive behaviors. But here's the thing. You also need to realize that porn has brought something valuable, something desired into your life, something that you have perceived as pleasurable or a benefit. Yeah, even if it's fleeting, the bottom line, it has done something for you. You wouldn't go back to it over and over and over again if it had no benefits. And it could be pleasure, it could be escape, it could be comfort, it could be pseudo-confidence, and the list goes on and on and on. You could call them gains. There was something that you took from porn to try to meet a need. And you have to understand what that thing is. And sometimes it's a multiplicity of things that porn has been giving to you. To quote Matt Dobschutz, he says, porn is not your problem, it's just your favorite solution. So it's when you truly understand the things that porn, the benefits, the gains that in one sense you got from porn, then you can begin to figure out how to meet some of those things in a better, more life-giving way. So in this Finding Traction lesson, what we do is we ask each person, we do this in our group, is we ask each person to itemize the benefits, if we can use that word, that porn has brought to them. And begin to figure out, this is how I've used porn, and this is why I keep returning to porn, and this is what it does for me. And, and so we do that. But then we turn to the second part of that, is we also have them itemize the costs that those same behaviors have introduced into their life. Now we end the lesson with each person doing an exercise. I think I picked this exercise up from Doug Weiss, one of his 101 lessons, I think his book that I have. And what we ask each person to do, each porn struggler, is to write a goodbye letter to porn. This is kind of like, a goodbye letter to a bad, abusive, toxic girlfriend that you've got to get clear and free from. But you write a goodbye letter, a Dear Jane letter, or whatever you want to call it. And in that letter, you acknowledge what the relationship gave to you, but you also acknowledge what the relationship cost you. Again, like a breakup letter. And when you do that, what it does is it helps men begin to count the emotional cost that this new direction will bring into your life. Let me say that again. When you purpose in your life, in your heart, to walk clear and free from porn, there will be an emotional cost. You will have to give something up, which has at one level gave you or benefited you emotionally. But just like a bad, toxic relationship, you are doing that in light of the new emotional, far greater benefits that taking that step will open you up for. And that's how we do that. We have each person and we share that in our groups. So in closing today, I thought there would be no better end to this podcast to have one of the guys that I coach, his name's Mike. He said I could use his name. I am going to have him read his letter to you. He was in my group the last couple of weeks, and he said, I'd like to read my letter now. And I was so impacted by this letter, that his letter saying goodbye to porn, that I asked him if he would come on and share this letter. So here's to saying hello to a much fuller, richer life by saying goodbye to our old life. So once again, as we talked about, I'd like to introduce one of my buddies, Mike, who is in one of our coaching groups. And I am going to have Mike share his letter to porn as kind of a concluding way of finishing this podcast and talk about gains and losses. So, Mike, away you go.
Thanks, Vern. All right, my letter to porn. Porn. In you, I found something intoxicating, a respite and escape from a youth of emotional tightrope walking, hiding, and isolation. Unquestionably beautiful women who seemed to want intimacy and physical touch as much as I did. I had such a rush with you initially, but found myself always trying to recapture the high from that first season with you. We had rendezvous that felt great, but immediately afterward left me with a sense of growing shame and an ever-widening crater of loneliness. In you, I found something marketed as free, but which cost what I could never pay. You introduced me to other addictions on which I depended and whom you called friends, and you used me and left me broken. You stole from me confidence, connection, trust in the feeling someone could ever want or genuinely care for me, time, struggle, challenge, triumph, and celebration. You were a glass shard-filled teddy bear to whom I reached in my childhood for comfort, and which was briefly numbing, but then cut me ever deeper to artery, bone, and ventricle. You reopened scabs and scars until I was covered in festering abscesses, and I counted myself among the cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. I'm letting you know this is over. My relationship with you and my isolation because of you steadily grew until 2018, when you and I both know everything changed. The worst season of my life is the one I am the most grateful for, because it laid bare the devastation you had smuggled into my life for nearly 2 decades. I am not who I was, and you were never who you said you were. You used a browser history full of yourself on my dad's computer to justify your presence in my life, and soothingly solidified your hold on me. That will not be the case with my children. I am letting you go and choosing to pick up who I truly am. A husband, a father, a leader, a son of the Most High, whose father runs out to meet me when I am still far off, who is and has been loved and cared for more than you or I could ever imagine. There is no place in my life or family for you, and you are not welcome here. I know now the shekels were never locked and the cell door was always open. I choose to walk through that door. All of me, even the parts that remember more of your sweetness and perfume than your rot and decay, are walking out, and I will never be back. I know, though it may not be today or tomorrow, I will watch you wither away and die, and will do everything I can to speed up that process. On that day, between your desperate gasps and futile gulps of breath, as you gaze out from a face that goes from red to purple to a dusky gray, through eyes that glaze and then cloud over, you will find no mercy or mourning from me. Do not expect me to see you. Do not expect to see me in your neighborhood or at your door. I will not come by this way again. This is the final goodbye.
Wow. Thank you, Mike. I so appreciate your vulnerability and honesty. And I love that, because I think that's captures so much of guys' struggles. So thank you again for being willing to do that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.